So I'm here to talk about several applications actually. So it's an upgrade over the one app that was advertised. Yes. So they all come from the same code base, and hopefully you enjoy hearing about them. So let me just see here. I've got my notes on my phone for various reasons. All right. So, a bit of introduction about myself. My name is Iordanov. I'm a developer focused on infrastructure and DevOps. I work for TD Bank, and we're hiring, of course. I have a group supporting me back there, including my manager, Brad, who's, if you'd like to work for TD, he'll be more than happy to talk to you. And I'm here to talk about my open source project, not affiliated with TD. Starting with bVNC, as advertised in the talk. bVNC is a secure open source VNC client. It supports all major operating systems with VNC server installed. It has numerous VNC encryption support, and it also includes SSH tunneling. So you can tunnel your VNC connections over SSH. It has a multi-touch interface, which I will show you in a video later. Alongside bVNC in the same code repository is ARDP, which is an RDP client, which also supports SSH encryption. It supports Windows and Linux with XRDP. Anywhere that XRDP runs, it supports. And it has the same multi-touch interface. Also alongside these two projects lives aSpice, which is a Spice client along the same lines. You guessed it. It's a Spice protocol client, SSH tunneling, multi-touch interface, yada yada. And alongside those three projects, there's a fourth project, which is a Red Hat Enterprise Virtualization Overt and Proxmox client, which allows you to connect to the VMs that have been assigned to you in the requisite virtualization framework. These are all virtualization frameworks. Rev, Overt, and Proxmox are frameworks that people install in their data centers so they can virtualize them. And then they would like a mechanism that has, they support RBAC, role-based authorization control, and they can assign VMs to specific users. So you can have like a hosting company, and you can assign different VMs to different people. And then my client hooks up to the API and lets you see your VMs and connect to them via VNC and Spice protocols. Oh, and for those of you that are not familiar with the Spice protocol, it's one of the two protocols supported by remote desktop protocols supported by the Linux kernel virtualization module, KVM. So machines, VMs that run on Linux-based hypervisors are able to provide you their VGA console over VNC or Spice, depending on configuration. So, the history of the project. Let me go here in my notes. So maybe you're wondering, how did so many applications end up in one source repository? How did so much software end up in one place? The project started 6 years ago as a port for Android VNC Viewer to the BlackBerry 10 Android runtime. So I published the application on BlackBerry World, and people started using it. Obviously, because BlackBerry devices, the first BlackBerry 10 devices didn't have any buttons, I had to rework the interface completely and figure out a nice way to provide people the ability to click and do all kinds of gestures that give them mouse control over the remote machine in a convenient way. So the multi-touch interface is specific to these applications as a result. The interface got pretty good. People enjoyed it a lot, and they started asking, why are these projects not on Google Play? So then I released bVNC on Google Play, and it got a lot of interest, and people started downloading it like crazy. And then after a while, I needed to connect to my RDP machines, my Linux machines running RDP. I also wanted to provide a mechanism for the students where I worked at the time to use XRDP to connect to their virtual desktops. So I developed ARDP as a result of that by using the free RDP library as a backend to the same application instead of a VNC library. And that one is seeing a ton of downloads as well on Google Play. And then, very shortly afterwards, I thought, okay, well, I've generalized the application to support any backend, so why don't I try to support libspice, which is a Red Hat Spice library, and I did that in a very short time. And then I announced it on the Red Hat Spice mailing list, and everybody got very excited because they said that their roadmap was to have something like this in 3 years. And I did it in less than a month. So, haha. So that was pretty fun. And then finally, I had started using Overt at home to run my virtual machines. And I thought, well, you know, that their API looked pretty good. It's a RESTful API. It's really nice. And they had some client libraries. So I decided, why not try to integrate with it. So I did that in a very, very short time. And Opaque came about, the application I showed you last. And then when the Proxmox users, one step back, Red Hat Enterprise Virtualization, Rev, is a like enterprise variant of Overt, and so I got support for that for free. And then when the Proxmox guys, which is another framework, saw this, they pestered me for support for their framework. They're like, we need one, we don't have one. You had to go through the web interface, and their web interface is awful. Like the mobile one is just unusable. So they said, we need a native client. I said, okay. So I support their framework just for kicks. And so lots of Proxmox users are using Opaque right now. So that's the history of the project. And I'm just going to show you, I thought really the only unique thing about the project that I'd like to just demo is the multi-touch interface. So I'll just play you a video of that and talk to what I'm doing on the video because audio is not working for my laptop. And so let's go here.
Here's a quick overview of the multi-touch functionality of the application.
All right, this is probably not loud enough for you guys to hear, so I'll turn off audio on the laptop completely. And all right. Okay. So I'm already connected to the remote desktop here. I've got a terminal open so I can, show you just something on the screen, and then you'll see my fingers doing stuff on the screen. I'll tell you what they're doing. So let's see here. Okay, so I'm showing you pinch zoom now. So you can zoom anywhere on your desktop with pinch zoom. It's pretty smooth. This is on an Android 5 device, really old. To left click, you just tap where you want to click with one finger. And it clicks where you click, where you tap. To right click, you just tap with one finger and then right tap with the second finger, and it right clicks instead where you tapped. To middle click, you tap and you add 2 additional fingers, and it pasted some stuff at the bottom because it's Linux. It pastes when you middle click. This is scrolling. You just kind of like move your fingers up and down, and the pointer appears between your 2 fingers. Okay, this is the default input mode. All right, so I'm going to show you one more input mode here. I'm showing you the toolbar right now that shows up when you tap or you scroll around on the screen. You pan. The toolbar shows up for a short period of time and lets you relocate it if it's in your way, or get the menu. And then you can switch input modes from it. And this is the simulated touchpad mode. The whole screen becomes a touchpad, and you can, when you swipe around on the screen, you move the pointer instead of panning the screen. So I'm showing you that the pointer is moving around. And instead, when you tap on the screen, the click happens where the pointer is, not where your finger is. So it's literally like a touchpad on a laptop. So I'm showing you here that I left-clicked where the pointer was, double-clicked by double tapping, and then right-clicked. And then please don't play anything. Great. Okay. Right, let's see. Oh, there we go. So, 1 second. So I have some additional thoughts I wanted to share with you. Let me put the thing back in presentation mode. Not that slide. So I have some additional thoughts for you guys because I thought maybe people are interested in what it's like to develop open source products, what it's like to deal with hundreds of thousands of users, right? So you got to scale up or die, right? You're gonna get a lot of hate mail if you don't do well when you have a big project with a lot of downloads. Okay. So first of all, why open source? The reason that I use open source is for the collaborative nature of how the projects develop, right? So I like the fact that anybody can contribute to my project, and that when I need something changed in somebody else's project so mine would work with it, I can just make the change and submit it to their mainline, and that's it. And if they accept it, if my work is good, they'll take it, and I get my functionality in their product from that point on, right? Supported fully. And I had to do that for many Red Hat libraries in order to get my product working with libspice. And it was a wonderful experience. They actually have a great community of developers who are employed at Red Hat, yet they operate in a very open manner. You submit a patch, they take it, they thank you, they add copyright, your name, to the top of their project, right? Just to make sure that you're represented. Great. I found that very refreshing. I've had a lot of contributions from people that use my product for their companies or for their personal usage. I've had people contribute, for instance, a build system to my project because MIT needed my project automatically built from scratch so that at their library people can connect to VMs that run some really outdated software for microfilm viewing. So they sponsored some student to make a build system for my project. He didn't contact me to tell me about it. I found the build system on the web for my project, okay? Right? So I was just searching for how to build all these crazy dependencies, and then I found somebody built these crazy dependencies, clicked through, and I saw he's building my project. I was like, great. Took that, and now this is my build system. It basically builds half an operating system automatically to support all that software. Another refreshing episode was Dell. I got contacted by principal dev at Dell, and he said, we love your VNC client. We want Dell Open Manage to use it for connecting to D-racks of people's machines in their data center. I said, okay, what do you need? And he said, we'd like to develop a way for Open Manage to launch your application automatically. And so we wrote an RFC together on how to launch VNC clients from another application. And then we implemented that into bVNC. And then I extended it to RDP and to SPICE protocols. And now I probably have, I shouldn't say hundreds, but at least tens of people that are integrating with my application based on this RFC and on this ability to launch the application from other applications. It's great. It's called a URI intent in Android. You just give a URI to the OS, and the OS says, wait a minute, let me check if somebody here supports this. Oh, this application has indicated it supports this URI, just launches it and gives the URI to the application with a bunch of data elements. Okay, so why have a hobby like that? All of the above, right? And I'm also a workaholic. So I work evenings and weekends on this project. Some stats, the apps have had like about 500,000 downloads just on Google Play. I put it on, I put the VNC, RDP, and Spice client. Spice client? I'm not sure the Spice client's on there, on the App Store, and they offered to feature the RDP client for 1 day for free, because I actually put it on the App Store for like $3, whatever. And I put it up for free for 1 day, and I got 85,000 downloads in 1 day, right? Oh, and by the way, really nothing, if you're wondering about it, nothing stops you from selling open source software, just like Red Hat does, right? So on Google Play, I have my apps for free because that's my main distribution channel. And I also have a donation version there as well. But any other like smaller place that I publish my application, I have to spend effort maintaining it there, updating it. So I just put it up for a paid amount there because it has, something has to compensate my time spending maintaining an app on the App Store. All right. So another thing I wanted to mention, I think that first of all, the fact that you'll be accepting patches to your application from other developers and that you'll be writing software for other libraries that you need changes in will improve you as a developer. So having an open source project, I think, brings your standards up. And I encourage you all to have an open source project of your own and share it with the world so everybody can enjoy it. So I have my source code up for you guys to peruse, use, fork, whatever. I have 300 something forks on GitHub. It's pretty good. People are using it. Feel free. That's my contact if you guys want to get in touch with me. And I think now is time for some questions. What do we do with questions? Do we give the microphone to the person asking a question, or just yell it out? Okay, just yell it out. Yeah.
So, what were some of the biggest challenges, I guess, you faced in working with such a diverse array of libraries?
I think automatic builds are probably the biggest challenge to working with an operating system worth of libraries as dependencies. So I started out by just basically working in prototype mode. I would build first of all, I had to customize a whole bunch of applications. It was Android toolchain early days, so I had to go and hack around the library and its build system for it to build for Android. It was awful. So once I had these libraries built, I had these huge, a huge knowledge base of exactly what I had to do to every library. And I was stuck with specific versions of the library, and the library upgrade was such a pain in the neck. It was really, really difficult. So things improved over time. The Android toolchain got a lot better. So you can now compile things that you couldn't even dream of compiling on Android. Like glibc, for instance, glibc, or I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's a monster library, and now you can just compile it, and it works. And before it was hack, chop this piece off, comment this part out. And so after I found the build system online for the libraries, now library upgrades are a matter of just incrementing a version in a config file, running the build system, right? And if there are any issues, I can go back, or I can report them, fix them, and report them to the maintainer, which I've done, and off we go. It's much easier. By the way, of course, the build system is hooked up to Jenkins jobs that publish my applications to Google Play. So very important to also have some form of continuous delivery for your applications. Otherwise, just getting yourself to roll out those new versions is going to look like a mountain, especially when you have an hour on a weekend to work on this. So if you get onto some form of continuous delivery for your applications early on, it'll unblock you so much. You won't have to worry about the publishing part, right? So a small bug fix now becomes a small bug fix instead of a small bug fix added to like a giant release, painful release process, right? So those two, I guess.
Any plan for iOS client?
Can you?
Any plan for iOS client?
Yes, iOS client. So at one point, I decided to prototype an iOS client for the Spice application just for fun because I wanted to evaluate the Apple toolchain, their compiler and the cross-compilation capability, and it was actually remarkably easy. I got it compiled and running in a few hours, and I got like connection happening and the screen displayed, the remote desktop displayed, and then I would have to write the multi-touch interface and the text input and all the nice stuff. So at that point, I didn't have time. So would I want to? For sure. It's great fun, but I just never got around to it. So thank you, guys.